I'm just upset! Calm down in a minute to gather your thoughts, Mr. Smith.
That's what it's debating. The stamper best yours.
Can I have a chance to speak?
Your organization that you work at, or the one that's going to hire you soon enough, hired you or is going to hire you because of your common sense. Okay. I'm going to talk about something. I'm not going to get into all these little acronyms and stuff. We're just going to call it acting right. Right. So you got verbal judo, interpersonal communication skills. There's a lot of different methods. The whole idea of working in security, law enforcement, or even corrections is that your behavior, your demeanor, your EQ and your IQ is at a little bit higher level than most people in the population, that you're able to not only communicate and convey direction with reference to policies and procedures and the expectations of a client or the organization you work for, but that you can set that example, that you're able to explain and then demonstrate. So you're not in a job where you can just slack off and act a certain kind of way. Eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to make somebody upset, especially if you start slacking off or you start doing things that are not consistent with the policies that you're expected to enforce. Back in the my days, way before even me, they had this whole verbo judo thing, and how to deflect and how to talk and how to de-escalate. Okay, well, de-escalation starts with you, the person. I mean, you may have somebody that's gonna come up. They're just gonna act. They're gonna act the fool. They're gonna come at you with crazy statements and all this other stuff. What your organization expects from you is that you're able to calm down, really gather the information, make sense of it, repeat it back to that person, and say, okay, now I understand what you're saying. Okay. This competition of screaming and under screaming, over screaming, or raising one's voice, there is no benefit. You're not adding value to interaction with the community, with inmates, or with the public when you're trying to beat them or you're trying to get one over on them. Okay, so our job, what we do, we provide a service. We understand, we gather information, we observe and report, and most situations we enforce. We enforce policy, laws, or whatever it may be that is specific to what your job is. So when you think about it and when you really put it into real solid context, all you have to do is behave yourself and behave in a way that it demonstrates the expectations of the organization you work for and your profession and the industry you work in. So if you're, for instance, a correction officer providing guard work in a jail, then there's that expectation that you demonstrate professionalism and are able to communicate at a level that's higher than the people that you're watching. Okay. There's this thing that I came across in my career at the executive level, and there was these reports that constantly came out. Well, I used force against this person, like pepper spray over it, because they disrespect me, because they disrespect this and disrespect that. Well, look, there's an expectation that you're gonna have to eat it. You're gonna have to accept that somebody disrespects you. Of course, you're gonna observe, you're gonna report, and there's accountability for the behavior or disorderly conduct of the individual that you've come in contact with. But there should be no reprisal. There should be no fighting back, because all that does is dirty you up. That causes questions with reference to your reliability, and your ability, not just your reliability, but your ability to bring things down a notch in order to retain control and retain your composure as a professional. Keep these things in mind, because these things are very important when you're performing this work. A lot of stuff will be on uh, not just mine, but a lot of other exams. When you take tests, they're going to bring up the question of objective reasonableness. What would a reasonable officer do? And then you got to keep in mind, a reasonable officer is not going to retaliate. A reasonable officer is not going to scream against screaming. A reasonable officer is going to behave a certain way, gather information, attempt to de-escalate, and control not only themselves but the scene. Okay. Well, look forward to that next video. Talk to you guys soon.